Well, Canada will soon be reducing the number of temporary foreign workers coming into this country. The government loosened restrictions after reports of labor shortages post COVID 19. But Ottawa is reversing that measure after some experts say that the surge fueled unemployment among immigrants and young people. And there will be exceptions for some industries like the food service sector food security sectors. That includes things like agriculture, as well as the sectors of construction and healthcare. Here is Minister of Employment Randy Boissonnault on some of the reasons behind the changes.
And with the changes that we already started in March that took place in May, we will have, with today's changes, about 65,000 fewer people participating in the temporary foreign worker program. Why is that important? It's important because we want to see Canadians and permanent residents have access to entry-level jobs in what has been known as the low-wage stream up to now, and we want to make sure that Canadians have access to those jobs. It's also an important part of our overall program to have more compliance in the temporary foreign worker program and also to stamp out abuse.
That is Minister of Employment Randy Boissonnault. Well, for more on this, we have reached Syed Hassan, Executive Director of Migrant Workers Alliance for Change. Good morning to you, Syed.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being with us. Let's go over some of these changes here, because employers in areas where there is high unemployment, and that's defined as 6% or higher, will not be able to hire low-wage temporary foreign workers. And as I mentioned, there are some industries that are exempt from this. The government has also said that employers can have no more than 10% of their workforce hired through the temporary foreign worker program. And so what will this look like for temporary foreign workers who are currently in these industries?
You know, for years now, migrant workers have been falling sick. They've been dying. What the United Nations called the Temporary Foreign Worker Program, a breeding ground for modern forms of slavery. This is a program that creates one of the worst injustices in all of Canadian employment practices. And instead of addressing those practices, we keep having this debate about numbers while people continue to suffer, while people continue to die. You know, we have members who are dying because of heat stress, who are getting injured because of overwork, because they're tied to their employer. This is a massive distraction from the real issues. By focusing on the number of migrants, it's not going to address migrant concerns. Migrants aren't able to protect themselves because they don't have permanent resident status. Reducing the numbers does not in any way affect the workers who are already here and who are facing exploitation and abuse.
So you would do what then? Just do away with the temporary foreign worker program?
What we're seeing right now, I mean, just to look at what you said at the beginning, right? You said some experts believe that the increase in temporary foreign worker program has caused higher unemployment, particularly in immigrants, right? But who says that? You know, there's an 11% increase, 11% unemployment of immigrants. And the reason that's happening is because of racism and discrimination. It's because people are not being matched to the skills. People are not being accredited, new immigrants. So they come with degrees, but they can't get those jobs. Now, at most, the minister said 65,000. I believe it'll be lesser number of temporary foreign workers will be shut out. Canada has a population of over 42 million. Reducing 60,000 workers won't actually increase that many jobs because these are actually very specific jobs. And as I said, some of those industries, as you said, are left out. So this discussion, we're not addressing the problem. We are blaming the wrong actor, and that's a disservice to all of us. It will migrants will continue to be exploited, but the housing crisis won't be solved because these workers are not the ones competing for your single family home. They're actually living in substandard employer-controlled homes, warehouse. You know, these are the places where COVID went through and hurt so many people. They're not the ones who are competing. You know, here in the Greater Toronto Hamilton area, there's 18 months of condo supply because there's too many homes and not enough people buying. Speculators are not building because of the high interest rates. They don't believe they'll get enough of a profit despite the huge prices. That's why we have a housing crisis. So blaming migrants and immigration is wrong. This is a provincial crisis of lack of healthcare, lack of building of housing, lack of protection of worker rights, lack of matching immigrants with jobs. And it's left the federal government to pull this one lever on immigration, but this is the wrong lever to pull. It's only increasing racism because everyone's just hearing that your problems of unemployment and affordability and housing as a result of racialized people, of immigrants, and that is going to increase xenophobia. This is the wrong step. It does not solve any of our issues. It does not protect migrants. This is a distraction, and it's only serving the interest of big businesses and the premiers who can just use this to deny and reject all of their own responsibility.
And so when you hear Immigration Minister Boissonnault, the way he has framed these changes, I mean, he says they're meant to make sure Canadians have access to these jobs, to make sure there's compliance with the TFW program. As we heard there, he said to stamp out the abuse. Where do you see the abuse?
I mean, how can reducing the numbers of migrant permits in the future reduce the exploitation of the people today? How can the fact that the largest exploitation is happening in agriculture, in fisheries, in care work, in construction, these are the largest industries. They've all been exempt anyway. The problem of exploitation, this is not just me, the Minister of Immigration, Mark Miller, himself said the easiest way to solve this problem is to give them all permanent resident status. The United Nations said 2 weeks ago, the easiest way to solve this problem is to give them permanent resident status. The issue is when there is an exploitable workforce tied to the employer, unable to live anywhere else, unable to work anywhere else, where the employer has the power to deport you and ban you from returning, there is a fundamental imbalance of power between temporary foreign workers and their employers. This change today does not fix the power imbalance. All it does is respond to a media criticism. It responds to some partisan economists and premiers using the fact of migration as a way to distract from the true causes of our housing affordability crisis. We have global inflation. People are struggling to make ends meet. They're looking for answers and they're being lied to. And those lies are hurting us. And those lies are creating a huge increase in racism and xenophobia that will be hard to turn back from.
Canada obviously relies very heavily on people from other countries for labor right now. I mean, whether we're talking about, new immigrants, people with permanent residency, or temporary foreign workers, how do you rework that system to make it more equitable for everyone?
Absolutely. I mean, you've hit the nail on the head. Look, since at least the last 15 years, both conservative and liberal governments have used immigration to grow the economy. Some people say it's 50% of all economic growth, all GDP growth in Canada is linked to immigration. Some people it's up to 75% is a result of migration and immigration. So contracting immigration, which is what is being pushed right now, will actually contract the economy, increase unemployment, and increase the wage crisis. So the way to make it equitable is to have a real understanding of what this economy and society needs. Canada actually needs 2 million new workers entering because people aren't having kids and people are getting older. That means there are more people aging out than people entering the job market. That's 2 million people that need to be added. But it doesn't have to be a revolving door system. It doesn't have to be people here who are kicked out and then they're replaced. They could all be permanent. It could be a step-by-step process. But instead, we're reducing the permanent residency numbers. We're increasing the temporary numbers. And then we keep tweaking the temporary numbers when other systems are failing. But this is not going to fix the crisis.
Syed, we'll leave it there. Thank you very much for the time this morning. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
You take care. Bye-bye. That is Sayed Hassan, who is the Executive Director of Migrant Workers Alliance for Change.